Hello, it's Gina, and I'm back with another episode of Breakfast with Billionaires, where we discuss books written by billionaires. Today's book is with Sheryl Sandberg. It's called Lean In. Now, she is the COO of Facebook, and before she went to Facebook, she was at Google. Um, so she's a billionaire, and just to give you a heads up, of the billionaires, only about 10% of them are women. So she's really encouraging us to make that 50-50 when it comes to women. Everything, we equally deserve it. So I like Sheryl a lot, and let me tell you, this is one of the quotes that really drew me into the book. Once I read this, I was done. I was reading the rest of it like that same night. So she says that as a young girl, she knew that being smart was good in lots of ways, but she also knew it didn't make her particularly popular or attractive to boys. And in school, she was always called the smartest girl in class, and she hated that description. And she says, "Who wants to go to the prom with the smartest girl in the class?" So senior year, her class voted her most likely to succeed, and she was afraid that was going to hurt her chances of going to the prom. So she convinced her friend, who was on the yearbook, to remove her name. Okay, that's how crazy that was. So ends up the guy stood her up anyways. He canceled because he wanted to go to some sport event, but she realized that she went to such efforts to mute her achievements. And about 10 years after she graduated from business school, she was sitting next to this professor, a woman named Deborah Grunfeld, a professor of leadership and organizational behavior at Stanford. And they were having this really intense discussion. And the professor told her that, our entrenched cultural ideas associate men with leadership qualities and women with nurturing qualities. And when a woman does anything that signals she might not be nice first and foremost, it creates a negative impression and makes us uncomfortable. So I thought that was just, it's like you know this, but you can't put it into words. And that's what this whole book does. It just, there's so many scenarios and so much numbers behind everything. And it's like, it puts it in words, what women feel. So wanted to give you 10 of my top 10 takeaways here. All right, so one, I want you to watch the 2 TED Talks that are out there on the internet on YouTube. She's got one about why is there too few women leaders, and the other one is about, okay, so if we leaned in, now what? And kind of helping to encourage to start groups talking about this. 2, this whole book is filled with jaw-dropping numbers and facts on the differences between males versus females on kind of behavior science. One of the biggest things, which is so true, is about the bossy. So bossy versus leadership. Men never get called bossy. Women get called bossy, not men. And she says if you go to any playground this weekend, okay, and you listen out, you will hear some parent stand up and tell their daughter, "Don't be so bossy." Instead, you need to walk over there and say, "Your daughter's not bossy, she's got leadership skills," okay? This is a CEO in the making. So we actually need to encourage, someone to take control and be able to lead. And she asked audiences, how many times have the men been called bossy? And no one raises their hand. So likability is another big one. And it shows that the higher women get up in the leadership roles, the less likable they end up being. People, and even during studies where they'll write out for groups of people, they'll write out this whole scenario, they'll just change the name from Howard to Hillary, or they'll just change the name of the person, and next thing you know, they have totally different feelings about what the person did just because they're a guy versus a girl. So I noticed this too. I wrote this word sorry because we had a person in our office, a woman in our office, who I could tell she had no self-esteem, and she always said, "I'm sorry," with everything she did. If she was coming into your office, if she had a question to ask you, if she wanted to to do something, it was always sorry, sorry, sorry. It's like she was trying to diffuse any possibility that she was asking to take away from someone else's power. Like she just wanted to not step on anyone's toes. And I really feel like she just had no self-esteem. And I feel like a lot of women do apologize all the time. So I would encourage you not to do that anymore if you do. 5, sit at the table. And she noticed that when they're having a big Facebook meeting and all these big wigs would come, that sometimes certain ladies would sit on the sidelines. They wouldn't actually come to the table. So, you know, maybe you should realize if you're doing that or not. Hopefully it makes you more aware. 6, don't leave before you leave. This was a really good one. It's talking about women who, if they are thinking they might want to have kids, how they start in their mind, they back out. Okay, they if there's a promotion, they don't try to get it. If there's more responsibility, they don't try to bump up their responsibilities at work. So she encourages you not to leave because you want to have a reason to come back. You want to be once you have a kid, you really want to have a good reason to leave that kid. You don't, obviously, if it's really not a lot of responsibility, that job, you're probably not going to think it's worth going back for. 7, I like this one a lot. I called my sister, just had a baby, and I encouraged her. I was reading word for word from the book, but it says, make your partner a partner and don't hover. So she encourages women to just let the men, just let them do it the way that they're going to do it, whether it means that they're going to put the diaper on their head upside down or backwards. Just let them take part in that, and then don't hover, because if you nitpick every little thing, chances are they're going to just be like, here's the baby, you do it your way, I'm out of here. And, you know, I really like the fact that she's just making us aware of that. Okay, I don't have kids, so I really don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of complicated things there, but she said that one of the best things to happen was when she had a baby, her hamstring or something had damage to it, so her husband had to be the one to get up in the middle of the night, and so he was part of, you know, the first couple of weeks, which kind of got them started on a pattern of him being involved with everything. Even though she was breastfeeding, he could bring the baby to her. He was involved in doing that. So that was pretty heartwarming to read that. This one, the mentoring, this was literally worth my read of the book. I thought it was so true. It was talking about mentors and how she would go and give a speech, and these women would approach her, and these women would say to her, right to her face, would you be my mentor? Okay? And she is saying to us, look, a mentor is not a Prince Charming that's going to just whisk you off to the corner office. You have to succeed at work. You've got to really try hard. You've got to do lots of good things. And then if you come across a complicated issue, how you get a mentor is you ask them for their advice on a particular thing going on in your life or your work life, and you get their feedback, because these people that are the leaders are very problem oriented. So they're going to want to help you, solution oriented. They're going to want to help you with your problem. And then later on, when they see you walking down the hall at work, they're probably going to ask you, hey, how did that go? How did that presentation go? How did that problem work out for you? And next thing you know, they'll be emotionally involved in your success. And that's how you get a mentor. You don't approach someone face to face and say, would you be my mentor? That's weird. She said, please don't do that. Profits of this book. This book, profits are going to her Lean In Foundation. Let's see. It was like $24 for this book, so obviously money well spent. And groups. She encourages all to start groups about how to lean in at work. And I think it's important too for us to realize how it happens even as other women. And I mean, I remember as when I was 26 years old, I got my first house, and I was really excited. It was right before I was going to the closing, a couple days before, and I wanted to show my grandma the house. I was excited about renovating it and everything. And I can remember it was my parents and my grandma, and we were sitting in the back seat, and we drove to the house, and I showed my grandma. I was like, look, I got my first house. And she turns to me and she says, why do you wait until you get married to get a house? Why do you need a house? And I'm gonna tell you, I was so like heartbroken that she wasn't like happy for me, or you know, trying to motivate me to do like that was a good thing. And I felt like if I was her grandson, maybe she would have reacted a little differently. And I think that we don't even realize, even in our own families, how we can try to, you know, encourage people to be more leadership and have more opportunities, and just be more proactive. So I know another scenario where, in particular, I'm just sticking to the house theme here, but when my mom was walking through one of her houses with a real estate agent, the real estate agent was really impressed with the house. I mean, it was really super awesome, nice house. And she turned to my mom and she says to her, "Now tell me, what does your husband do again?" You know, kind of in that tone of, you know, how did you get this house kind of thing. And right on cue, my mom turns to her and says, "He works for me." Just love that. And I was really lucky that I, you know, had a strong leadership in my family like that. So I would encourage you to hopefully mentor someone else and get involved. Now, tomorrow I am headed towards a coworker's girls group, and I'm teaching to them about good habits of finances. And I'm definitely going to be utilizing some information in this book. And I mean, they're 14 years old, but it just says in the book that by middle school age, that they already are taking a step back from leadership roles. So I think it's good to start that early. So, all right, let me know what you think about the book. Please post some comments below if you have some particular life experience where you thought that being a woman made things pan out differently for you. Post them below. Or if you have some ideas on how we could change things, or if you want to start a group, a lean-in group yourself, please do so. I would like to hear your feedback. Thanks.